St. Patrick's Day is around the corner. I think it's time that we step up our mashed potato game and go with some Colcannon mashed potatoes. These aren't just any regular old mashed potatoes and not any old regular Colcannon mashed potatoes. Let's get cooking. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Chronicles of a Chef. I'm Scott Hamilton, and today we're going to do Colcannon. Irish recipe. Usually when it comes around when it's St. Patrick's Day, and St. Patrick's Day is around the corner. Part of why I thought of it. After you try this, you're gonna say, why don't I think about this more all the time? Because it is so stinking good. Now, traditionally it gets like sautéed kale. It's really simple, really delicious. I decided to go a little crazy. We're gonna do kale and a red cabbage, getting some nice color, getting nice texture. We're gonna fortify a cream to cook the potatoes in. And this thing is out of this world, and you're gonna be like, Colcannon is on my Sunday dinner list all the time now. Let's get cooking. I love Colcannon because it's a great twist on mashed potatoes. It's delicious. It adds some color, it adds some more textures and some more flavors to just a delicious mashed potato. So we are going to do my own little take on Colcannon today. We're going to make this to go with a braised lamb chop, which I'm super stoked for. That is currently in the pressure cooker, so be sure to be on the lookout for that video next week when it comes out. See how it all turns out all together. But for right now, we are going to get some garlic working. We're gonna just do like a nice little mince on these guys. Not super intense or anything like that. The first time I was ever like exposed to Colcannon was when I worked at Whole Foods. We had to make it for St. Patrick's Day, and I was like, what is this? And then I had it, and I was like, oh, this is delicious. And it was a great way to get some kale in me. The nice thing is, like, it doesn't have to be kale. So today we're gonna do a blend of kale and cabbage, and it's gonna be just absolutely delicious. But nice and simple here. All we're gonna do. See, nothing real crazy there. Then we're gonna swap out to our herb fun here, and we'll go ahead and throw this into that container. There we go. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of stems in here left over from the lamb chops, and we're gonna steep that in the milk a little bit, heavy cream, before we cook our potatoes in that heavy cream. But we were gonna put some of these herbs in with the cabbage and the kale. So these nice, delicious rosemary and thyme. It's gonna match the herbs in our braised lamb, so it's just gonna umph that power and that flavor throughout the whole dish. Oh, it's gonna be so good. That's all pretty woody too. So we will just kind of shake it out, see what we can get. All right, there we go. We're just gonna run our knife through. Nice simple mince. Again, we don't need anything too crazy because this is gonna cook down both in the mashed potato as well as we saute up our kale and everything. So we got some kale here, and I'm just gonna kind of rip at it, make things nice and simple. You can rip at it that way, or you can always just take your knife and run it along and have it cut it off that way. I like the tear. We'll use some of that. We don't want the stem. The stem's too woody. The stem's too rough. We don't want any of that. But we are now going to take this, and this is going to cook down a whole lot. So don't stress about it. But we are going to cut this into just kind of a chiffonade ribbon. I'm not looking for super small. I want that chew, and I want that bitterness, and I want all those flavors, and I want the color kind of going throughout the whole dish. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a red cabbage, because again, why not? We got some color options here. We can use it. The core's already taken out. I'm gonna get rid of this top layer here. We're gonna cut it in half, and we're gonna cut it really thin little strips. There is that. We're gonna go ahead and throw our cabbage and our kale all in the same container because they're gonna go in the pan at the same time. So we'll make our lives easy. And then lastly, we got a quarter of an onion, just a simple sweet onion here that we are going to do a small little dice on, kind of like a mince. It can be kind of chunky. Again, the nice thing about this is because we got kale and we got cabbage going into these mashed potatoes, we're gonna have texture. Because there's already going to be that texture there. It's going to give us a nice textural component, and it's also going to make our prep just a little bit easier because we don't have to peel the potatoes. There's our onions, and those are going to soften up as we cook them down. All right, there's that. Lastly, normally I'm a big proponent of cooking my potatoes whole. But with this, we're gonna cook it right in the heavy cream. So I'm gonna do just a little rough chop on these guys. Help kind of speed up the cooking process. So we want them similar sizes. The cream's gonna get in there and make it nice and rich and creamy. Normally I like to keep the skins on because I think the moisture kind of helps stay inside and helps them stay fluffy and rich and creamy. Also, it was like a culinary school thing. I had multiple teachers say, no, you do it this way, this way. Instructors that were yelling at, you always peel your potatoes before you cook them. Teachers who say, no, you always want to bake the potatoes. I know that the biggest thing is that when you're doing a mashed potato, we're going to want these, normally you want them dry, but we're skipping the water process and we're going to mash them straight into the milk cream that they're going to be used to make a delicious mash. And so therefore, we don't have to worry about that drying process. We get to skip that step, which is going to be awesome. All right, got all these potatoes. I'm going to get them in here. And then I'm going to fill this with water so that they don't turn brown as we do all of the other cooking process. Because of oxidation, they're going to turn brown, just like apples will turn brown. Doesn't mean that they're bad right away. Just means oxidation happened. Everything's going to be okay. All right, now that we got these covered with water, we can get rid of some of this other stuff. And our prep for Colcannon is done, and we can get the stove out and let's get cooking. All right, so since we're going to do Colcannon, we're going to saute down our kale and the cabbage. I am going to do this in a more shallow pan. We got still nice sides, and we're going to be able to cover everything, coat everything with milk, and cook the potatoes. We're going to do it all in one pan. We'll pull these guys out because I don't want this color reaching into the potatoes. I want to make sure that we have good contrasting colors. But so this will get sauteed first, and then we'll pull it out. Then we'll boil off the potatoes, start mashing them, but all one pan. How beautiful is that? We're gonna have a delicious, awesome mashed potato using just one pan. Love that plan. Let's get to it. So we got a nice hot pan here. We're gonna throw in our butter. And I have us sitting at a nice medium-high heat. Did about a tablespoon of butter, nothing too crazy. And we're gonna throw in our herbs and our onion and our garlic. Oh. The smells already are so phenomenal. I'm gonna throw in just a little more butter because why not? And I'm looking just to kind of sweat these onions. They're the ones that I'm paying the most attention to. We're gonna move these around fast enough that the garlic should just start to open up. I'm not worried about the garlic burning. I really just wanna see those onions to begin to get a little translucent. Now that we've got our onions looking a little translucent, we're looking good there. Let's throw in our cabbage and our kale. And we're gonna go ahead and hit it with some salt. And that's pretty much all the salt I'm gonna do right now because we're gonna use some bone broth powder to add extra flavor to this. And that's gonna be salty. So I'm gonna salt this just to kind of get it going and to help kind of release the moisture out of the cabbage and the kale. But really I just want this to hang out. And we'll salt really heavily at the end of this. Oh yeah. That's not good. All right, power's back on. We're looking good here. All right. Oh, it's smelling so good. Here's some black pepper. To help the cabbage and the kale cook down, and also to kind of help brighten everything up, use a splash of white wine vinegar. And that's just going to kind of help steam, soften up these delicious greens, but also just kind of help cut through all the fat that we're going to add on later with the cream. It's just going to kind of help build those delicious flavors. Let's grab one of these guys. Still got a good chew to it. Nice little crunch. And the nice thing is that's going to soften up as it sits in. It's going to steam and kind of cook more while we get working on our potatoes. So we're going to go ahead and give this a nice scoop out. Because again, I want that texture in the mashed potatoes. Deli containers, what beautiful things. All right, we're going to turn this down. I'm going to slap a little butter in here. Going to use that fat as a way to kind of help deglaze and whatnot this pan. And then one more splash of our white wine vinegar. just to kind of help pull some of this fond off of our pan here. And then we're going to throw in our stems. Okay, so we've got our stems working. We're just gonna kind of let everything, have those start to warm up. Those oils start to leach out from them as we add our heavy cream. We're gonna go a cup and a little more. And then we are going to do about a half a cup of whole milk. So not quite like a half and half, but that's close. Because all half and half really is half milk and half heavy cream. So we're gonna give this a nice stir. Let all those flavors start to do their thing. We're just gonna let the stems steep for a little bit. I want this to come up to a nice simmer, and then once it's at a simmer, we'll let it go for a couple minutes, and then we'll strain off our potatoes, add our potatoes, put a lid on this, let the potatoes cook, and then get to mashing. So this has to mix with 8 ounces of water. So that's gonna be perfect because we have a little bit over, we have closer to like 12 ounces of deliciousness. So we're gonna add our bone broth to this. And if you wanna use more of like a veggie stock, that's great. I just feel like wherever we can add more depths of flavor, why aren't we? So we're gonna make this a fortified, delicious cream that we are going to cook these potatoes in, and these potatoes are just gonna soak up all this delicious flavor. One, we have all the flavor from the pan, so we have some of that herb going on, the garlic and the onion, and then we have all these stems that are steeping in the hearty, rich, heavy, earthy flavors from the herbs. Ooh, they're gonna be in there. Oh yeah, there we go. And then now we have a stock that we just added to it, and oh, rich, creamy, delicious. Our liquid's coming to a nice little simmer here, which I love, and I want that everywhere, and that's gonna help make sure that we're drawing out all of the oils and the flavor from those stems. We're gonna give our cream just a little try. Oh yeah. There's a subtleness of all the herbs. They're there, and you can tell there's an herb going on, but it's not the fresh, light kind of herbiness that you normally get when you get fresh herbs and you pick them, you chop them, you do all those things. It's much more deep and more rich flavor happening, which, I am for. So we're gonna let those steep for just a little longer, and then we'll pull them out and get our potatoes going. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get these stems out of here. I'm gonna leave all that delicious liquid behind. Hindsight's always 20/20. Should have tied these in a string, done something to make sure that I find them all. I don't care about the actual leaves. I just want more of those woody stems out of there, which I feel like I got them. All right, I'm gonna get that liquid back in there. Strain off our potatoes. Then we're gonna throw our potatoes just right into all this nice, delicious cream. Use a good stir, get them nicely coated. Get them as spread out and covered in everything as we possibly can. And in this moment, we're gonna go ahead and hit them with a heavy pinch of salt right here. We wanna bring this to a boil now. I'm gonna cover it and let them cook for about 10-15 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 10-12 minutes and we are looking delicious. Cream is reduced down heavily, which is okay. We're gonna go ahead and give this a little, see how it was nice and easy to go in. That's what we want. We want it to be easy to go in, but not fall off, okay? Because otherwise it's cooked too much. We don't want that. So we're gonna turn off the heat because this is gonna continue to cook. And as we mush everything together, it's gonna kind of break down those starches. And if you overwhip, this is why you don't want to blend your mashed potatoes, because then it turns into paste. We don't want that. So we're going old school. We're going to go ahead and just mash it right in here. Oh yeah. And again, we're going to have some texture. We got skin, we've got the kale and the cabbage that we're going to fold into this later too. So there's going to be texture, there's going to be some lumps, there's going to be some bumps, and that's all okay. These aren't meant to be like the perfectly smooth. It's not supposed to be like a pomme puree or anything like that. So I'm liking our initial mash right now. I am going to throw in probably about a tablespoon or so, 2 tablespoons of butter. And we're gonna start with a good heaping, maybe like 1/3 or so of a cup of sour cream. And then we're gonna keep on mashing our way. Right now I'm just looking really for any of like larger chunks of potatoes to get through this masher. So I don't want like a whole potato wedge. Okay, with a little chunk here and there. There we go. Feel like all of our main potato wedges and things like that with the cut pieces are all mashed up, and now we're just onto big chunks of deliciousness. Nice and chunky. Oh man. Okay, now we're just gonna start working on our folding, and we'll mash some more as we need. We don't want to overwork, like I was saying. Overworking is gonna turn it into a paste. It's gonna overwork the starches in the potato. That's why it's a very fine line when you're making gnocchi. Yeah, that is looking beautiful. Okay, at this point, I switched to cold butter. The reason why I want to switch to cold butter is because now I want to start slowing down that cooking process just a hair. It's gonna continue to cook, but I want those textures to be good. And I know that I'm going to reheat this. So we're going to kind of do another tablespoon or so of butter, but this time it's going to be more cold butter. And then we're also going to do another little scoop of sour cream. Closer now, maybe like a half cup or so. Heaping pinch of salt. If you have white pepper, go ahead and use it. I'm not worried about the color. So black pepper it is for me. And now we're just gonna get all this mixed in together, looking and feeling happy and delicious. Now, if you want your mashed potatoes a little looser than this, that's when you add some milk or more cream. Sour cream is gonna help kind of keep things tight. And I do want these a lot more tight than I want them to be on the loose side. So, let's give these guys a try. Oh man, there's just a delicious depth of flavor to it. The sour cream is coming in nicely, a little tang. These are gonna be tangy too because with the vinegar in this, we don't need too much sour cream. We're gonna need some more salt. There we go. And then I'm not gonna add any more butter or anything like that until I've got the kale and our cabbage in here. I'm gonna dump these guys in. Whoop. Oh yeah, look at the color. And this is why, as you can see, as we're folding this kale and cabbage and everything in, the texture was gonna be thrown as soon as we add this in. So to help with that chewiness of the kale, to help it feel a little more palatable for anybody who doesn't like that kind of chew, we have those soft, pillowy chunks of potato in there. So you have all sorts of different kind of textures that are soft happening. But there's a variety of textures to keep your mouth bouncing like, ooh, what was that? Ooh, what was this? But look at that. That is a beautiful looking Colcannon right there. I love the purple popping through. Oh yeah. With that kale, there's just like rich earthiness and a little bit of bitter from both the kale and the cabbage. Then there's more of the onion and the herbs come in, the little bit of hints of garlic. Oh man. Acidity wise, it's great. There's a bit of brightness to it, but it's not like, ooh, I'm tasting vinegar. Because I'm a butter fiend, another 2 tablespoons. Why not? We're not eating this for losing weight. We are eating this to be delicious and happy. Oh yeah, just fold that butter in. So good. Good amount of salt. All right, so we're gonna add a little milk because it's thickening up a little more than I want it to. One, it's gonna continue to add fat to it, but it's also gonna be nice and loose to help kind of just loosen things up again so that we can just nicely mix it. There we go. Oh, beautiful. That, my friends. It's so good. Oh man. All right, let's get cleaned up and let's get tasting this. All right, let's dig in on this Colcannon here. I am super stoked for it. I think that it turned out beautiful. First of all, like look at that. It's beautiful. There's so much more happening than just regular mashed potatoes. And mashed potatoes, I love a mashed potato. The rich, the creamy, the fatty, all those things are happening. On top of all that deliciousness that's happening in your regular mashed potato, You have a delicious kind of braised, cooked down, sauteed kale and cabbage. There's a delicious brightness from the vinegar that just brings it to life. And then on top of that, it's greens. Like, so if you love collard greens, if you love cooked down greens, all that kind of stuff, you're adding it to mashed potatoes. And like, oh, it's a match made in heaven when done right. I mean, I could totally see doing like some bacon bits, full on like loaded mashed potato with this green situation. Oh man, it can go in all sorts of directions and be so delicious in so many different avenues other than just Irish food and St. Patty's Day and putting a delicious Guinness Braised Lamb over the top of it, which we will do next week. So make sure you check out that video next week coming out. But see, and right there it happened. So there's enough of the soft mash that you get that whole mouth coating deliciousness that happens when you eat a delicious bite of mashed potato. But then you get a delicious crunch, this bite from the cabbage, and then you get a little bit of the chew from the kale, and then you get this like soft pillow that you bite through. And so there's just so much happening in every single bite. Not only that, but you have a flavorful roller coaster that's happening as well as the texture. So you have obviously that rich, umptious, delicious, fatty mashed potato that's just like, oh, comfort in a bowl, right? And then you have this bright crunch that's going to deliver this sweetness from the cabbage. Then you have this little chew that gives you the bitterness from the kale. And then you have a pillow of goodness. And then you have herbs and you have garlic. And then there's a little bit of vinegar. Then you get that rich tang, like that fatty tang from the sour cream. Oh man, it is just too good to be true. Love this. Thank you so much for watching. This was a delight to make, a new favorite of mine. I mean, I was introduced to it a long time ago, haven't made it in years, and why not add more delicious things to mashed potatoes? I don't see what the problem is, and I think that you should do this too. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all those fun things, and make sure you tune in next week to see me smother these Colcannon potatoes with the delicious Guinness Braised Lamb. Oh, it's going to be good. We'll see you next week.